Hi, I'm Melisa Idris, thanks for watching. I'm here on location at the Georgetown Literary Festival, and joining me on the show tonight, I have Pretty Nai, who's a social media personality from Singapore, better known as Pretty Please. Now, you may know Pretty Please making waves as a viral internet sensation as she creates humorous videos, but often thought-provoking about really important issues like racial integration, as well as misrepresentation of minorities within local media. She joins me on the show tonight. Pretty, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm pretty pleased. Singapore's top everything.
Singapore's top everything. That's quite a tall order, especially given the controversy that you found yourself in this past few months. So I think it was in September, was it?
It started in July,
end
of July.
Oh, there you go. Right. Thanks for putting that into kind of chronological order. So what happened was there was an ad that played in Singapore, that featured in Singapore recently, a Chinese actor portraying different races.
Yeah.
And you know, he had darkened his face to portray different races, had put on wigs and I guess in a very culturally insensitive manner that the Western world has been struggling to deal with, but this was happening in Singapore.
Yeah.
And in response to this ad, you have put out a video. So I'd like you to, perhaps you have a better sense of what happened. Maybe you can explain to us the controversy that happened a few months ago.
Okay, so the advertisement was put out by MediaCorp, which is Singapore's biggest media conglomerate. And I used to work there, so I have personal history with them. Yeah, but the ad was done by a veteran Chinese actor in Singapore, so he's well known, people know him, and he played all four races, the four races that we have in Singapore. So he played a Chinese guy himself, he played an Indian guy, he painted his face dark brown and he wore a curly hair wig, and he even had a lanyard with a fake character name called K. Muthusamy. And he also played a Muslim woman, he wore a tudung, and I think that was, when we saw the ad, it was a bit frustrating at that point because it wasn't MediaCorp's first time doing brownface. And they've done it, I think, at least two other times, and I've made fun of it all. So I've made fun of it, I've just poked funny comments at it, but I've never actually did a full video talking about brownface in Singapore. So it was just it all made sense for my brother and I to make fun of this video because they created this Indian man character called K. Muthusamy. So we were like, you know what, let's claim that. That's ours. That's our fellow Indian man. And you take it, you paint your skin brown and you call yourself, you give yourself a generic Indian name. So we're going to claim that character back and we're going to make a rap video and we're going to call ourselves K. Muthusamy. So my brother dressed up as K. Muthusamy. He was the guy, the office worker with the lanyard, the shirt and tie and everything. And we made the whole song titled K. Muthusamy. And we rapped about the amount of times this has happened and how frustrating it is to be an Indian person in Singapore and have to see this happen so often. Yeah.
So when you did that video, it was, you thought in your mind it was just another video that you were putting up, because not the first time, you said not the first time that you had commented on what you thought was a racist ad. Now, why was this video different? Why did it get so much traction?
I think it got so viral and it got so much ruckus so fast was because of the vulgarities used in the video. And I think that was probably the first time someone was so blatant to spell it out and tell people exactly what went wrong or what was wrong.
For many of us who haven't watched the video, is the video still online?
So the video I was told to remove the video, if not I was going to get fined, so I was asked to remove it. And I removed it, and it's now it's illegal to post the video up. So if you put it up, it will get removed. But a lot of people have downloaded the video to put it up on YouTube on their own. So you have to use a VPN to watch it. And it's on websites that are banned in Singapore. A lot of adult websites.
So what I understand about this video is that it's a parody using the Izzy.
Yes. So Iggy Azalea
song. Okay.
Yeah. So
and it's the F word.
Yeah. The song's called F It Up.
Okay.
So we decided that it made the most sense to make a parody, use the same title, because this was kind of like a F up, like a screw up. So it made the most sense, and it came very naturally to me because I was listening to that song on my own, and I'm like, this adds up, so let's use this song. And the song was a brand new song as well, so it was great timing. So I was like, let's take this song, let's make our own parody of F It Up, and let's talk about the screw up that just happened in Singapore.
All right, so in hindsight now, it's been a few months, right? So let's just look at that incident. When you guys put out that video, break it down for me in hindsight, what you think people were reacting to. But first of all, did you expect the reaction that your video got, given that this wasn't the first time that you had put out something like this?
I definitely did not expect this reaction, but I did expect a reaction. I did expect people to talk about it and share it and discuss what went wrong and talk about the advertisement and how that's not okay. But that was all I expected. I never expected like police to be involved and it to be like viral on a national scale. But the reactions that came in from the video, a lot of brown people were very grateful that we made the video.
You heard back from your community?
Yeah, and the comment section, before the video got taken down. So in the comments, people were saying things like, about time, you know, and they were tagging their friends and saying, oh, like, oh my God, she made a video about it, like, look at it, you know, like, because everyone already knew about the ad, because the ad went viral on its own for like the bad rap it had for doing brownface. So a lot of people were already sharing it and they were kind of grateful that somebody talked about brownface in Singapore and somebody dedicated a whole video to tell you what was wrong and how this is not okay and we need to stop doing this. But I feel like a lot of people didn't have the opportunity to form their own opinions on the song because the state intervened really quickly and I was asked to remove the video within a couple of hours of it being up.
Within a couple of hours?
Yeah, so if I'm not wrong, it was in the evening of the day I uploaded it. Or yeah, if I'm not wrong, like my timeline is right. Or if not, it was probably just within the first 24 hours.
But that is a very short period amount of time. I mean, that's actually a really quick reaction. That's surprising to me. I would have thought that it'll take a few days for authorities to kind of react to it, gauge the sentiment. But this was an immediate knee-jerk reaction.
It was really fast, and I think a lot of information I got was from the news before anyone spoke to me directly.
What do you mean by that?
So my friends were sending me articles from the Straits Times back in Singapore, and they wrote articles like, oh, police are investigating rap duo Pretty Please and Subash.
You didn't?
Nobody reached out. Yeah, and I was overseas, so I thought, okay, maybe my SIM card's not in, maybe someone's trying to contact me. So I asked my brother, is anyone talking to us? Has anyone reached out to you? And no one had at the time where all the articles came out, and I had to find out that the police were actually investigating the video before they reached out to me directly.
So you read in the media that the police were investigating you
when there was no investigation.
Before you realized that you were being investigated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Okay. Could you break it down for me? Just I kind of skipped a couple of questions ahead, but just now, in hindsight, what were people reacting to in your video?
So a lot of people were, well, of course, for sure, they were very grateful that we were talking about it. But I think a lot of people were very confused, and because the state intervened so quickly, they just assumed that our video was racist against Chinese people in Singapore. Like they just assumed, because the articles that came out called us racist, like they said the video was racist, the video was offensive to Chinese people. So before people could watch the video, they just assumed that, okay, Preeti and Subash just made a video that's about Chinese people and they hate Chinese people and they are racist. So I think that was the opinion that was formed if you didn't have the chance to watch the video on your own. And a lot of people have come up to me since the incident to ask me, to even tell me that, oh, we didn't even see the video. What do y'all actually say?
Right.
You know, like, where can we find the video today? Like, they're asking us things like that, which we have no answers to because we don't have, the video's nowhere online that we uploaded it on.
So let me get this straight. You were being accused of racism for the
Calling
satire that you produced, calling out what you considered a racist ad. How do you make sense of that?
I really think it's a child argument. It's such a childish argument to call out racism and to be called a racist. That is so, like, that's the easiest way out. That's a very convenient thing to do when you don't want to discuss actual racism going on in Singapore. That's what I feel. All
right, well, let's come back and talk about that because it's the root of the problem is much deeper, this casual racism. We'll come back and discuss that right here on Consider This. Don't go anywhere. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Melisa Idris. I'm talking to Pretty Please, who is a social media personality in Singapore who was embroiled in some controversy a few months ago. Tell me, Pretty, I'm kind of struggling to understand a little bit why the Singaporean authorities got involved. Did you contravene a law? Was this considered hate speech? Can you explain it to us?
So it was under the Sedition Act, which is insane that this was seditious, but it was because my video was seen as a video that was trying to create a strife between races in Singapore. But it's tricky because my content has always been promoting racial harmony in Singapore, and I'm an Indian girl who speaks Mandarin. So I grew up studying Mandarin my whole life. So I've made fun of the fact that I'm a brown girl who speaks Mandarin, and I celebrate Chinese New Year with most of my friends in Singapore who are obviously Chinese. And I celebrate Deepavali, and my family is as Indian as it gets. And I show that side of my life and my family, and I also show the struggles that I face being a brown girl that speaks Mandarin. And I think it's so tricky because I've made Chinese New Year videos, Deepavali videos, and I have a rap song in Mandarin. You know, like I just embrace what I've had to go through my whole life,
Sure.
and everything that has been a negative experience in my childhood, I've just made it into a song. I've made it into a funny video. I've learned to laugh at myself a lot.
Okay.
So I think it got very confusing when I was deemed as a racist, and when they put that label on me, it was really scary because if you just take a look, if you just Google "pretty please Chinese" and you see the videos that come out and all me speaking Mandarin, me doing a makeup tutorial in Mandarin, and I'm like, that's such a foreign concept to be racist or even say something racist to me.
Was this coming from the top, or was it coming from the bottom? In a sense, did you feel it? Did the backlash come organically from your fellow Singaporeans, or did it come from Singapore authorities and then trickle down?
It was definitely from the state. It was definitely trickling down because, yeah, like I said, I don't think a lot of people formed their own opinions on the video.
Because it was taken down so quickly.
Yeah. So I think they just read the news
and
and every single news article you will see offensive video or racist like siblings. You'll see the words that were just thrown across the whole local media
Can we
sphere.
talk about that? Can we talk about the media coverage
Yeah.
of this video and the controversy surrounding it?
Yeah.
Singapore media is largely controlled by the government through different ways as well, directly or indirectly. Did you get any support from what was considered alternative media, from social media? Were you tracking the conversations?
I think a lot of independent media outlets. So there were a lot of websites online like
Rice Media wrote a piece as well, yes?
Rice Media. Vice also did an interview, a full-length interview on my brother and I, and we kind of told our side of the story there. So New Narrative. There were a lot of people on Twitter, like the editor of Mina magazine, so many people were just supporting us, and social media was filled with so much support. And I think like to a lot of people it just looks like, okay, are you okay? Are you receiving a lot of hate? But honestly, the support was insane.
Did you speak to traditional media, to the mainstream media outlets? Did they reach out to you?
Yeah. So
they did, okay.
The moment I received like news articles, I was overseas, and I don't know how everyone got my phone number, but every single media outlet in Singapore had my phone number.
Okay.
Everyone wanted a statement. They wanted me to comment on something. I ignored every single outlet, and I only spoke to Vice and Bureau.
Why did
after
you?
everything.
Why did you ignore that? I mean, this was your chance to set the record straight, so to speak. Your chance to get your side out to mainstream media, to the media corps of Singapore.
Yeah.
Why didn't you speak to them?
I think it's because I thought the video was very straightforward. I had so many disclaimers in my rap video, but still, somehow the message got misconstrued.
Disclaimers
And
meaning?
I had a disclaimer. I literally, at the end of my rap video, there was a disclaimer where I said, not all Chinese people are racist. I'm only talking about racist people here.
You actually said that?
I explicitly said that line. So after that, I think it's a bit like, okay, there's no way I'm going to talk to you without actually seeing the piece that's going to go out or seeing your exact words before you press publish on a post.
It's that distrust of the
For
media.
sure. So there was no one I trusted enough to speak to about this entire incident until it was all kind of like settled down, the dust all settled down, and we had our conditional warning already. And that was when we were comfortable enough to speak to Vice, because we knew the writer of the article personally. So we were like, okay, we trust you enough to tell our truth and write the story as neutrally as possible, and not just call us racist or add in those controversial words just to sensationalize the news.
You mentioned the conditional warning. So this was after the investigation. Can you walk us through what happened after the investigation?
Okay, so we had like a couple of days of interrogations, and forensics took all of our electronics, and all those things happened.
Confiscated all your laptops?
Yeah, for like a day. My laptop, my hard disk, my phone for a couple of hours. And after all that, it was the National Day week in Singapore. So it was a long weekend, and of course, we knew the outcome was either going to come out like right before National Day, or it was going to be after the long weekend.
Do you feel the timing
had
something to do with that because of the sense of patriotism or the...
Yeah, we knew that it was just so tricky because when everything came out, the state said things like, okay, the siblings, they were very influenced by the West. They use words like that just because we made a rap video. But when you stream the National Day telecast on TV, there were rappers on TV. there were rappers on National Day rapping about Singapore. And when it's inconvenient, you immediately
it's
disassociate
not the medium,
from
right?
rap.
It's the message.
Exactly.
Isn't it? Okay.
So it was very funny how they quickly tried to disassociate from rap and said it's a thing from the West. But you see on the National Day stage in Singapore, there are rappers up there. So you can't blame us for being influenced by the West when you're taking this from the West and putting it to like
can't be
say
selective,
your own narratives.
Right?
Exactly.
Well, talk to me about the conditional warning.
Okay, so we received a 2-year conditional warning. So this was under the Sedition Act, under the Penal Code, and this meant that in the next 2 years, if we commit any crime in Singapore, we can be charged in court for the rap video. Yeah.
So this is probation on good behavior. So you have to be on your best behavior.
Pretty much.
How has that affected your craft, your art, your work?
It's been so tricky because after this entire case, I still wanted to put out as many videos as possible. Life goes on, you know.
Sure.
I'm pretty pleased. I make funny videos. I make a National Day video every year, and this wasn't going to change it. So before my outcome came out, I did put a National Day video out, and that was a pretty tricky time because whatever I say in this video will affect my outcome. So I did speak to a lot of lawyers who were like so helpful.
You decided to put out a video before
my outcome
the decision.
Yes.
That's a very risky move to do that. Why was that a conscious decision?
I think it was important because I wanted all my supporters and my fans, followers, or people who just knew our true intentions to know that I'm always going to be here using my platform to speak up about things that I don't feel are right in Singapore.
So to show that you're not afraid.
Yeah,
as well.
I want to, not really not afraid, but more like unfazed, and I'm here to stay, and I'm here to talk about things that I will always want to fight for. With my platform.
Okay, we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about this right here on Consider This. Make sure you don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris speaking to Pretty Please, Singapore's social media personalities, Singapore's top everything, right? Yeah. Well, you were at the top of, I guess, every Google search headline a few months ago, given the controversy. Now, I remember reading a piece that Grace Yo wrote for Rice Media, and in it she wrote an article about what had happened, and she said the ad revealed how intrinsic casual racism is the fabric of the Singapore society. And that really struck me.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you, Pretty, is there this intrinsic casual racism, and what you think about it?
Casual racism happens every other day in Singapore. In my personal life even, the amount of microaggressions and the amount of stories I hear from all my brown friends, I think it's insane, and it's about time we have this difficult conversation about race in Singapore. And I'm glad the silver lining about this entire incident was that my video helped spark this conversation that we needed to have for so long. And so many people in Singapore have done so much legwork, have been talking about race for so long. And I think about time we had this conversation on a national scale. So casual racism definitely exists, and I think it's important to try and educate people to the best of our abilities. So even though it's exhausting to be a victim of racism, but then have to come out and just teach someone and tell them that this is not right, maybe you should say this another way.
How do you have that conversation, Pretty? I mean, it's an ongoing conversation for sure.
Yep.
But how do you start having this very difficult conversation, especially because it's so intrinsic and so embedded? Yep. Many of us don't even realize that, coming from a position of privilege, from a majority race, sometimes you don't realize what you think is normal behavior is actually racist.
I think for me personally, I've tried to have this conversation and kind of educate people through my videos. So whether it's a song, whether it's my original music, whether it's me joking and laughing about the casual racist comments I receive, I think that's kind of like me bringing attention towards that, hey, this is how it made me feel, this is not okay. I can laugh it off, but not everyone else can. So I think through my platform, that's how I've been showing it. Whether I laugh at myself more than anyone else. So I would like to say I'm Singapore's top self-deprecating person, and I do that in all my videos.
That's not a title you should want to have.
No, I call myself Singapore's top conditional warning receiver. So I'm here to embrace every single title that's going to be put on me.
To own it, own it. Okay. Is it a conversation that only young people are having? Because if you are, I guess, trying to influence the narrative through social media, through online, I'm wondering whether this is a conversation that's almost a bubble in the younger generation, and perhaps not as inclusive to an older generation who may not be as exposed.
I think it's definitely the conversation is sparking from the younger generation, but we can include everyone is included in this conversation.
Okay.
So if it means your interaction with a racist taxi uncle and having to tell him, uncle, actually, if it's better if you don't say something like that, or I didn't like that, can we not talk about this, or you could have said this better. You know, even if it means having that difficult conversation as you're trying to get to your destination in a cab,
right,
you got to do it. If you want to try change something, you got to do it.
Have you become the face of getting this conversation going? Become the spokesperson for the misrepresentation of minorities in media?
Unfortunately, maybe. I think I might have. But I'm here to own it, and I'm here to do everything I possibly can with my platform.
Can I ask you what that's done to your rice bowl?
Of course, when the incident kind of blew up, I did lose a couple of gigs, and it was a massive national smear campaign. So my face and my brother's face were everywhere. If you type "pretty please," you don't see any of the work I've done 2 years before. Like in the 3 years of my career, you don't see anything I've said, anything I've done, but you see, all you see is conditional warning, conditional warning. But then again, it's not about me. You know, it's never been about me. It's never been about me. It's never been about my brother. It's not about us. It's always about the big picture here. It's about race in Singapore. It's about people who don't have a platform, and we have the platform. I know how you feel, so I'm here to use my voice and help someone else out.
So I'm getting a sense that race is still a major social cleaver in Singapore, right? And it's something that we Malaysians can relate to as well. We tend to see things through, race-tinted lenses, if I may. What about class though, Priti? Is class a big issue? Is that something that you've touched on in your work as well? Because it's not just a race divide, it can also be a class divide.
I think in Singapore we do talk a lot about privilege, and that doesn't necessarily come with race. You know, it comes with having a certain type of lifestyle and just being able to afford certain things in Singapore. And I think it's just a matter of remembering how to be a little bit more human in your interactions with one another. And whether it's online, whether it's in person, I think that's what we need to focus more on, and kind of just remembering where we all came from and our roots. And you don't need to be stuck under like a CMIO bubble. You don't need a label to like teach you how to be, or teach you how to just be a nice person and treat someone with respect they deserve,
Yeah, that's true, I guess. And I'm glad that you're actually still putting out videos. I mean, the fear is that after conditional warning, that there would be the temptation to self-censor and to kind of hold back, or even just to second guess yourself before you put something out. You're thinking, should I even do this? Can I afford another controversy? What if I get kicked out of the country? What then happens, right? So do you think about that when you're putting your work out there?
I mean, after everything happened, I was a bit wary of my content, but I never wanted to censor myself. I never wanted to censor the things I have to say and the important points I wanted to get across, but I always tried to rephrase certain things or say it in a more subtle way, or keep it in, because in my videos I do this thing where I have Mandarin subtitles that are not accurate at all. So they're deliberately they're not even translating the things I say. So it is another joke on its own. It's another layer of humor. If you know Mandarin, you read it, I'm saying something completely different.
Okay.
So I've always been able to
getting lost in
be
translation.
subtle. I've always been able to slide a couple of subtle jokes in there, and I'll always have my ways, but I think...
Do you think satire parody is the best way to get people to think about really difficult issues? I mean, there's also that danger of, the borderline. You're laughing about a really serious issue. Are you taking it seriously enough?
I think as long as you're cautious about what you say, and you're not out here your intentions, you're not out here to offend people, and you're not out here to tell people that, okay, don't hang out with a certain race. That's not what my content says. My content says, hey, here's what's happening, and here's what needs to stop. And yes, we can laugh about it for this long, but think about how your words actually have a certain effect on people, and it's not okay. So it's definitely thought-provoking, and it's going to tell people, I feel like satire is the most thought-provoking kind of humor, because you can easily do slapstick content, but you're just going to get a good laugh and you're going to move on and you're not going to think about it again. And if you stumble upon the video, it's not thought-provoking at all. It's just something where you laugh off and move on. But videos that I do, I feel that gets conversation started, people tag their friends and discuss what's happening. And sometimes in my comment section, you see people actually talking about what's right or what's wrong and having a civil debate, in my comment section.
So you're actually seeing, I think perhaps what your work is doing is just getting the conversation started. Where before it's been a difficult conversation, you don't even know how to bring it up. Have you seen any concrete change, or any kind of tangible effects that's come out from the controversy that's happened to you and your brother?
I think one of the biggest things that came out of it was that our law minister, K. Shanmugam, admitted that racism does exist in Singapore. And I think for a minister to actually step out and say something like that is huge.
Has that not been the case before?
Personally, I've not heard anyone say that. And I think when the moment that happened, the internet kind of blew up. Like, people were sending it to me, they're like, I don't think you see what you've done. I don't think you see the importance of your work and how you've impacted Singapore's like media industry as a whole, but I think you'll realize it eventually.
Well, the first step is always acknowledging the problem, right? You have to acknowledge that there is a problem to be able to deal with it.
Yeah.
In the last minute or so, Priti, what do you hope to achieve? I mean, riding on this kind of all the attention, negative though it may be, and a lot of positive as well, how do you intend to leverage the attention that this has gotten you to perhaps create a more lasting change about the way racism or race is viewed in Singapore?
I think I really hope that everything that has happened to my brother and I hope we encourage the younger generation to keep talking about important things. I hope that I have so many followers that like are 14-year-olds. I hope they start talking about race, because when I was 14, I did not talk about race at all. I was just living my life as a secondary school kid. But I hope that now, because our followers and our fans are so young, I hope that this has inspired them to start the conversation that is difficult to have, or speak up if they're getting bullied about their race and how they look. You know, like I just hope that this has given them the confidence and courage to say what they want to say and say how they feel.
In hindsight, Priti, any regrets?
No regrets.
No regrets. You would do it exactly the same way over again?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for speaking with me. It has been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all the time we have on Consider This tonight. I will be back with you same time tomorrow night. Thank you for watching. Good night. Thank you, Priti.
Thank you so much.